He was known by many names across planets, but no one dared to speak any of them aloud. Most simply called him the Wanderer. He never stayed in one world for long. The moment his black ship touched ground, fear followed. Villages emptied. Children were hidden. City gates locked. Because wherever he went, people vanished, not one, not hundreds. 5,731 lives. A number no one should ever carry. No one knew why he did it. Some believed he was cursed. Others whispered he worked for dark cosmic lords. But there were also those who believed something worse, that he enjoyed it. His face was always hidden by a dark hood. Only his eyes were visible, cold and distant, like he had seen something far beyond life and death. His footsteps never rushed. His voice, if spoken, was calm. Yet behind that calm, there was a silent storm. One silent night, in the middle of a dead desert moon, he stood alone under a sky without stars. His ship rested behind him like a wounded beast. Wind carried dust across his armor. There was no one to hunt, no one to hide, yet his hands trembled slightly, as if something unseen pressed against his soul. That was when it happened. A voice, not from beside him, not from behind, from everywhere and yet nowhere, a single word. He froze. For the first time in all his years, his breath stopped. His heart, once cold as stone, felt something strange. It wasn't fear. It was something heavier. Something forgotten. He waited, expecting more. Silence. Absolute silence. But the word kept echoing inside his mind, not fading, not leaving. He had heard screams. He had heard begging. He had heard curses from dying lips. But never, never a word like this. A word not spoken by man nor beast. A word spoken by the universe itself. He turned his eyes toward the empty sky. The stars, long gone from this moon, offered no answer. But deep in his chest a question rose, a question he had buried long ago. Why? He walked back to his ship, slow but steady. The metal door opened with a hiss. Inside, the chambers were silent, except for the soft hum of ancient engines. He moved to the control seat and placed his hand on the console. The screens lit up awaiting orders. He did not enter coordinates. He did not speak a command. He simply stood there, haunted by that one word. Who sent it? Why now, after 5,731 souls? Why end? Once long ago, before the number began, he had been someone else. Someone with a name. Someone who believed in purpose. Someone who believed in justice. But that man was gone, buried beneath endless battles and blood-soaked memories. He remembered only fragments, fire raining from skies, betrayal, a broken oath. He remembered raising his blade not for glory, but for revenge. After that he stopped counting. But the universe had not. It remembered every life he took, every scream, every final breath. Now it had spoken. The Wanderer closed his eyes. The word struck something inside him, something he had ignored for years. Guilt? No. Regret? No. It was something deeper, something far more dangerous. Doubt. Something unseen watched him. He felt it, a gaze older than time, heavier than judgment. It was not angry. It was not merciful. It simply was. He opened the ship's star map. Thousands of stars glowed on the screen, but his eyes locked on one. A golden world he had never visited, but had always sensed. A world whispered in legends. A world said to be a live Aurillon, the city of silence. The throne of the first ones, a forbidden planet. He had no reason to go. Yet for the first time in years, he followed something other than vengeance. He set the course. The engines roared to life, and the ship rose through the black sky. As the moon fell behind him, he whispered, "To no one and to nothing. Who calls me?" There was no answer, only the word repeating in his soul. Days passed in the darkness of space. He did not sleep. He did not speak. He watched the stars shift as the ship moved closer to the unknown. His thoughts, once silent, now stormed. Were the 5,231 faces waiting for him there? Were they calling him? Or was something greater awaiting, something not of death, but of judgment? He tightened his grip on the console. He had faced armies. He had destroyed worlds. But never had he faced this, a summons from fate itself, and for the first time, he was not sure if he was the hunter or the hunted. As Orelon finally appeared, a golden planet glowing like a dying sun, he felt it. Not fear, not guilt, destiny. The wanderer lowered his hood. The word echoed once more, clear and final. End, but somewhere deep within him, another word, buried and forgotten, began to rise. Not yet Orelon. The forbidden world lay before him like a dying sun, golden clouds swirling above silent towers, an ancient city frozen in eternal light. No ships moved around it. No life signals touched the stars. Yet as his ship descended, he felt something impossible. The wanderer stepped out of his ship, boots touching the glass-like ground. The air was still. No wind, no sound. Even his breath seemed afraid to echo. It felt like walking inside a memory, one that did not belong to him, yet somehow knew his name. Before him rose the great gates of Orelon, towering doors of polished gold, smooth as a mirror, untouched by age or time. No guards, no locks. Still, they did not open. They didn't need to. The city already knew he had arrived. He stood there for a long moment, staring at the reflection of his hooded figure in the golden surface. The number haunted him. 731, the lives he had taken, the burden he never spoke of. But now another number pressed against his mind. One word, end. Who had spoken it? Who had the power to reach into his soul and command him? He stepped forward. The gates, without a sound, parted like curtains of light, welcoming him inside, or warning him. Inside, the city was vast and silent. Roads of crystal stretched into the distance. Enormous statues lined the pathways. Robed figures with eyes closed, faces calm, hands raised as if holding invisible judgment. Every statue was different. Every statue was watching. There were no birds, no wind, no whispers of any living thing. Yet as he walked deeper, he felt it. The city was alive. It was not stone, not metal. It was memory. It was mind. It was waiting to speak. He passed a great plaza, where dozens of dark-robed silhouettes stood in stillness. At first he thought they were statues too, but then, unmoved just slightly, his hand tightened around his blade. The figure did not turn, did not speak, but he heard it. Not through ears, through soul. Return. A voice without breath, a voice without body. It echoed through the empty streets. He walked on, never breaking pace. But something cold crept along his spine. He was not alone here. Not truly. The city was watching, and something within it remembered him. He reached the Hall of Echoes, a vast corridor, walls lined with ancient mirrors. But these mirrors did not show his reflection. They showed faces, faces of the fallen. Some screamed, some wept. Some simply watched. 731 of them. He felt nothing. No sadness, no remorse. Yet for the first time, he felt seen. Then a child's face appeared in the glass. Eyes wide, silent, alive. The same child he had spared long ago. His breath caught. Why here? Why now? He stepped back and the mirror cracked. A whisper followed. Judgment. The wanderer continued forward, deeper into Orelon. The air grew heavier, almost impossible to breathe. But he did not stop. He followed an unseen pull, a force older than fate. At the heart of the city, he found it, the throne of Orelon. A circular chamber, vast and radiant. 7 giant thrones stood in a ring, carved from starlight and shadow. None were occupied, yet he felt their presence, the first ones, the watchers of destiny. The beings who had spoken the word that haunted him still. He stepped into the circle. The chamber trembled, as if recognizing him. Light flickered. The air thickened with unseen voices. The thrones, untouched for ages, awakened. He lifted his head. "I have come," he said slowly, voice echoing in the golden hall. "Who calls me?" No answer, only silence, until a shimmer of light formed at the center of the chamber. A shape, not man, not God, something beyond flesh, beyond time, a presence. He could not see its face, but he heard it. Destroyer. His eyes narrowed. Your number is known. His fists clenched. Your time has come. His heart pounded once, for the first time in countless years. He felt something other than rage, uncertainty, but the presence was not finished. You were not born to end. You were made to begin. The words struck like thunder. Not end, begin. He took one step back. The chamber darkened. The thrones ignited with silent fire, and then the voice warned, "She waits for you." He froze. She, the child, the one spared, the one who lived his past, was not finished with him. Without warning, the presence vanished. The hall fell silent once more. But the wanderer was no longer the same. He turned away from the thrones, cloak trailing behind, like a shadow tearing free. He had come seeking answers, but Orelon had given him only one truth. His greatest battle had not yet begun. Aurelian had gone silent again, but something inside the wanderer had awakened. The golden halls were no longer just ancient ruins. They were watching him. They remembered him. He left the throne chamber and entered a narrow corridor that stretched endlessly forward, its walls covered in strange markings, symbols that pulsed like a heartbeat. Every step echoed softly, yet it felt as if someone else walked behind him. But whenever he turned, there was nothing, only emptiness, only silence, and then without warning, the silence broke, a whisper, soft, fragile, right behind him. "Why?" He stopped. The air turned cold. He did not answer. He did not need to. He knew that voice, or rather, he knew the pain within it. It was one of them, one of the 5,731. He resumed walking. His boots struck the crystal floor, but now there was another sound. Footsteps, matching his own. One behind him, then two, then many. The corridor trembled with invisible presence. He entered a chamber carved of black stone. No gold, no light, only shadows. At its center stood a single pillar, cracked and ancient, and on it a mirror. But this was no ordinary reflection. The mirror was alive. It rippled like water, and within it appeared a face, a woman, eyes wide with terror, tears frozen on her cheeks. She spoke without lips moving. "You promised you would spare us." He said nothing. Another face emerged, a soldier, armor broken, blood on his brow. "You should have let me fight." Another, a child, no more than 12. "Did I deserve the same fate?" Then more. A flood of faces, all speaking, all accusing. "Monster. Murderer. We begged. Why?" The wanderer's breath grew heavy, not with fear, but with weight. Memory flooded back against his will. Fire, screams, shattered planets. He had buried these faces long ago. He had made them silent. But here, in Orelon, silence had a voice, and it screamed. He stepped closer to the mirror. His reflection did not appear. Only them. Only the fallen, a hand pressed against the other side. A woman with silver eyes, the first he ever killed. Her voice was soft, calm, almost gentle. "We waited for you." He froze. "We do not seek revenge." He frowned. "We seek reason." He turned away. "I gave no promise," he muttered, voice low, but the mirror replied, "You once protected. You once saved. Before you destroyed." The corridor darkened. A storm of shadows swirled around him. The voices did not scream now. They pleaded, "Remember us." He raised his hand slowly, almost against his own will, and touched the surface. Cold, like touching death, the faces vanished, all at once. In their place, a single letter formed, carved in crimson light. The beginning of a word. He stepped back. Be, begin, become, burn. He could not understand. Suddenly, footsteps, real ones. Behind him, he spun. There, standing in the doorway, was a figure clothed in pale light, a child, not a face in the mirror, not a voice of the dead. Alive, real, breathing, the same child he spared years ago, now older, but the eyes the same, eyes without hate. She watched him silently. No fear, no tears. He narrowed his eyes. "You," he whispered. She nodded once. "You carry the number. she said softly. "But it does not belong to you alone." Before he could speak, she vanished, like dust in wind. The Wanderer stood motionless. She was here, alive, in Orelon. The city had summoned them both, not for revenge, for judgment. He left the chamber and walked deeper, where paths twisted like a maze. The walls glowed faintly, showing symbols he had never seen yet somehow understood. They told a story, not of war, but of creation, a great council, a blade forged, a promise broken, and at the end of one mural, a cloaked figure. Him, before destruction, before blood, holding a sword of light, defending, not killing, his fists clenched. Who was I? The city did not answer, but somewhere far ahead he heard it. Footsteps, not echoes, not whispers. Real. He followed. He emerged into an open courtyard, beneath a sky that was not sky, a swirling ceiling of golden light. In the center, a pool of liquid glass reflected nothing. He approached. Then, a voice, not behind, not above, but inside him. She holds the final word. His heart stopped for one beat. The child, the spared soul. She had come to end him, or to save him. The ground trembled lightly, as if something great had awakened beneath the city. Orelon had shown him the past, but now it would show him something far more dangerous. The truth. And the truth was not finished with him yet. The deeper he walked, into Orelon, the stronger the air grew, heavy, almost alive. The city was no longer silent. It whispered, it shifted, it breathed, but the Wanderer did not tremble. Not yet. He reached a massive corridor, larger than any he had passed before. At the end of it stood a set of colossal gates, each carved not with symbols, but with eyes. Thousands of eyes, open, unblinking, watching. As he stepped forward, they followed him. Every eye moved, not carved, living. The planet itself was awake. With a low tremor, the gates opened, revealing a chamber beyond imagination. A place not made by human hands. A throne hall carved from starlight and darkness, shaped by forces beyond creation. 7 thrones, 7 seats of fate, empty, yet he could feel them. Invisible, waiting. This place, the cosmic court. He stepped into the circle. The floor glowed beneath his feet, not golden but white, like the surface of a dying star. Floating. Above the thrones, rings of light spun slowly, each etched with symbols he could not read, yet somehow understood. This was not a place of worship. This was a place of judgment. His judgment. Then, without sound, they appeared, not with footsteps, not with motion, simply there. 7 beings, cloaked in radiant shadow, their faces hidden, their forms shifting, as if made from the universe itself, galaxies swirling beneath their robes, stars flickering in the folds of their sleeves. They did not speak with mouths, they spoke with truth. Destroyer. The word echoed through every wall. His eyes narrowed. Your number is known. Silence. 731. The chamber vibrated with that number. Heavy, eternal. He said nothing. One of the 7 stepped forward slightly. Do you know why you were called? He lifted his head. You sent the word, he said quietly. End. A pause. Then, all 7 answered at once. No. We sent another. His brow furrowed. Begin. The word struck him. The same letter he saw in the mirror, B. But why? Another of the beings spoke. You were not born to take life. You were made to judge it. His fists clenched. I chose my own path, he growled. The thrones shook. No. You followed the path carved for you. You were forged as a weapon. He took a step forward. For what war? He demanded. Silence. Then, the war that has not yet begun. The chamber darkened. The thrones glowed brighter. We created you, they said, not to destroy, but to decide. His heart pounded once, the sound echoing like a drum. Then why the number? he hissed. Why 5,631? The answer came like thunder. Because you forgot your purpose. Because you turned from judgment as to vengeance. You lost your name. He stared at them, breathing slow. My name is gone, he said. It is not gone, they whispered. It is hidden. Then, without warning, one throne tilted forward. She knows it. The wanderer froze. Her, the spared child, now grown. She carries the final word, his teeth clenched. To kill me, to choose you. In that moment the chamber shook violently, a distant roar. Not from the city, from beyond. Something ancient was waking, something darker than him, something coming. The seven turned their faces toward the void above. Time ends. Fate breaks. Choose, he stepped forward. Choose what, he growled, to remain a weapon or become the first defender. A bright light filled the chamber, forcing him to shield his eyes. When it faded, the thrones were empty, the cosmic court gone. They had left him with only truth. He was not summoned for punishment, he was summoned for decision. He turned to leave, but stopped. Something lay on the floor, a blade, silver, ancient, his but different, no longer stained with blood, waiting. He reached down, hand hovering just above it. Then he heard her voice, soft, far, real. You will need it. He looked up. She stood at the far archway. The spared child, not a ghost, not a memory, alive, waiting for him to follow, for the first time in all his journeys. He hesitated. She stood in the archway, silent as light, watching him, the child he once spared. No longer a child, yet unchanged. Eyes calm, no hatred. She held no weapon, no shield. She was the only soul among thousands who did not curse his name, and that alone made her dangerous. The wanderer did not move. He stood in the center of the cosmic court, his hand frozen above. The ancient blade, unsure whether to grasp it or leave it behind forever. She remained still. You know me, he said at last, his voice low. She nodded once. I know what you were, she replied, not what you became. Her words cut deeper than any sword. She stepped closer, slow, fearless. Do you remember me? She asked. He did not answer. But something stirred behind his eyes, dust of memory, a burning village, screams, flames rising, a small girl frozen in fear, his blade raised, then lowered. He had spared only one life. One, she. Why are you here? He asked. Her eyes never left his. To finish what began that day, his breath hardened. Revenge, he asked. She shook her head. No. Silence. Judgment. The word echoed through the chamber like thunder. Judgment, his purpose, the purpose he had abandoned. He looked down at the blade waiting at his feet. Once it devoured light. Now it shimmered with a strange purity, as if Aurelon itself had cleansed it. He took a step forward. Speak your judgment, he said. She shook her head slowly. It is not mine alone to speak. She looked upward, toward the endless ceiling of shifting light. It belongs to every soul you carry. Then the chamber changed. The walls dissolved into smoke. The thrones vanished. The sky above melted into darkness. They stood inside an endless void. A sea of shadows, and in that shadow came faces, not illusions. Them, all of them, the 5,731 men, women, children, soldiers, kings, beggars, innocents, enemies. They surrounded him in silence. He did not reach for his weapon. He did not speak. For the first time, he listened. A woman stepped forward, the first soul he had seen in the mirror. We do not ask why you killed, she said. We ask why you forgot us. A soldier followed. We fought you. We lost. But we were lives. A child, tears in his eyes. Did I deserve to be a number? He closed his eyes. For countless years, he walked with the weight of 5,731 on his back, but he never faced them until now. The girl, the spared one, broke the silence. "You were made to judge," she said softly. "Not to erase." He opened his eyes. She stepped closer. "Do you remember your name?" He said nothing. She whispered it, not the number. Not the title, a name, his true name. He froze. The void trembled. A memory shattered open, a forgotten life. A vow he once made. He promised to protect, not destroy. He staggered, breath sharp. He had not always been a monster. He had once been a guardian. His hand reached instinctively for his chest, as if searching for something once worn over his heart. But nothing remained. The voices of the fallen did not scream. They stood in heavy silence, waiting not for repentance, but decision. The girl looked into his eyes. "The universe has spoken one word to you," she said. "End." She lifted her hand, and in her palm a light formed, small, like a flame, but we speak another. The shadows stirred. The faces drew closer. The word rose. Begin. Every soul whispered it. Begin. 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 The void trembled like thunder. The blade at his feet pulsed with light. In that moment, he understood. The word end was not his fate. It was his warning. The word begin was his choice. He bent down and picked up the blade. It felt different now, lighter, yet stronger. No longer an instrument of destruction, a weapon of decision. He looked at the girl. Her eyes did not ask for mercy. They demanded answer. "Will you remain the destroyer?" She asked. Silence, his grip tightened. Then he raised the blade, not to strike, to vow. "I will face what comes," he said. "I will carry them, all of them. I will not end until I begin." The void fell silent. The faces of the fallen faded, not with sorrow, but with release. She stepped back. Eyes glimmering. "It is not over," she whispered. He nodded. "No," he said, "it begins." The void slowly faded. An Aurelon returned around him. Golden walls, silent corridors, distant echoes. The faces of the fallen were gone, but their final word remained inside him. Begin. For the first time in ages, his steps felt heavier, not with shame, but with purpose. He had carried death. Now he would carry memory. But one soul remained unspoken, the last soul, her. She walked ahead of him, calm, quiet, her footsteps making no sound. No chains held him, no guards forced him, yet he followed, not as a hunter, not as a prisoner, as one summoned. They reached a narrow passage that led deep below Aurelon's radiant halls. Light faded, gold turned to stone. The air carried a deep hum, like a heartbeat buried within the planet. He broke the silence. "What are you?" he asked. She did not turn. "The last witness," she replied. "Witness to what?" "To what you were, and what you must become." They entered a vast cavern, not made of stone, but crystal. A chamber beneath the world, glowing with an inner light. Rivers of liquid gold flowed through cracks in the floor, casting shimmering reflections across towering pillars, and at the center, a pedestal. Upon it lay a broken circle, half of an emblem, forged long ago. His emblem, the one he once wore before he became the Wanderer. He stepped toward it slowly, each heartbeat echoing through the chamber. "What is this place?" he asked. She stood beside the emblem. "The Chamber of Origins," she said. "Where your fate was forged." He stared at the broken emblem, a symbol of judgment, a symbol of guardianship. He had once been chosen to defend the balance, the line between justice and ruin. But when he broke, the universe bled. She watched him. "You remember," she said. "I remember." "A vow," he murmured. "A vow you abandoned," she answered. He did not deny it. A slow tremor ran through the chamber. Something was waking, not in anger, in expectation. She placed her hand gently over the broken emblem. "You were not meant to destroy the unworthy," she said. "You were meant to weigh them." He closed his eyes. "But I failed," she shook her head. "You did not fail. You were shattered. There is a difference." Her voice was not soft. It was truth. He took a breath. "Why did you follow me?" he asked. Why did you survive? When all others fell, she stepped away from the emblem and faced him fully. Because I forgave you, he froze. She continued, they feared you. They hated you. But I saw something they did not. And what was that? He demanded that even as you raised the blade, you hesitated. A silence heavier than iron filled the chamber. You were not the monster they saw, she said. You were the man who lost his name. A deep rumble shook the cavern. The crystal pillars flickered with light. She turned toward the shadows behind the pedestal. It is time. Time for what? He opened his mouth to speak, but what emerged from the darkness stole all words. A door stood there, ancient, sealed, carved with a symbol matching his broken emblem. Behind it, he felt it, a force, a soul, older than his guilt, older than his rage, the first soul. What lies beyond? He asked quietly. She answered with only one word, truth. He stepped slowly toward the sealed door. The golden rivers pulsed brighter, as if the planet itself awaited his answer. He looked back at her. Will you open it? She shook her head. I cannot. Then who? You, she said. He stared at the broken emblem. Not a weapon. A key. His destiny had not been taken from him. He had cast it aside. Now he would reclaim it. He reached down and lifted the broken emblem. It pulsed, alive. Not metal, not stone, memory. It burned in his palm, but he did not release it. He pressed it against the door. A sound like thunder tore through the chamber. Light erupted from the cracks. Ancient power awakened. The door began to open, but before the light swallowed him, her voice called out, when you cross this threshold, there is no return. He did not turn. I did not come to return, he said. I came to begin. The door opened, white. Light surged. He stepped through, not as the wanderer, not yet as the guardian, but as the one who must choose, whether the universe ends in silence or begins in fire. Light swallowed him whole. Not burning, not blinding. A light with memory, a light with judgment. When the brilliance faded, he was no longer in the crystal chamber. He stood in a vast, endless space, neither sky nor ground, just white, flowing like mist and echo. At the center of that emptiness floated a single throne, not golden, not jeweled, stone, cracked, ancient. Upon it sat no one, yet he felt a presence more powerful than any god he had ever faced, the first soul. He stepped forward, his footsteps silent. The broken emblem still burned in his hand. A voice, neither male nor female, neither near nor far, spoke. You carry the weight of 5,131 souls. He did not answer. You ask for end. He remained silent. But do you seek it? For them? Silence. Or for yourself? He closed his eyes. I came, he said slowly, for judgment. Yours. Yes. A low tremor rippled through the nothingness, not anger, recognition. You were born not to destroy, the voice said, but to weigh. He trembled. How can I weigh what I have shattered? By choosing. The mist around the throne shifted, and before him materialized two paths, one black, one white between them, a great void. The black path, the voice whispered, is end. Silence. No return, no memory. You will dissolve. All will forget. His heartbeat slowed. The white path, it continued, is eternity. You will carry every soul you took. Their pain will be your burden. Their names, your vow. He said nothing. One path frees you. The other binds you forever. He lifted his gaze. And what of them? He asked. The 5731? Yes, their fate lies in your choice. He looked at the black path, an end. No more pain, no more guilt. Then he looked at the white path, endless burden, unseen chains. No forgiveness, only duty. His fingers tightened around the emblem. He whispered, why give me a choice? The voice gentle now, because once you were light. His mind returned to the halls of Orelon, to the vow he once swore, to guard the balance between judgment and mercy. He had broken that vow, but vows could be reforged. He stepped forward, not to the black path, to the white. The voice grew softer. Speak the word. He understood. The universe had once given him a word, destruction, but that was not his word, not anymore. He spoke, clear, steady, begin. The nothingness shattered, light erupted, not blinding, but blooming. The throne cracked open, releasing a storm of souls. 5731 faces, rising like silver fire, not in torment, but release. They did not scream, they bowed, for he had chosen burden over escape. The first soul spoke one final time. You are no longer the wanderer. What am I now? He asked, a pause. The Arbiter. The light faded. He stood once more in the golden corridors of Orelon, but the halls were no longer silent. Shadows moved. Guardians, keepers, watchers, those who defended balance across all realms, and before them all. She stood the last soul. She looked at him. No chains? She asked. Chains are for prisoners, he said quietly. And you? I am chosen, she nodded. Then where will you begin? He looked to the horizon, beyond Orelon, beyond galaxies. There are those who kill without reason, he said. There are those who judge without mercy. And there are those, she added, who stand between. He placed the new forged emblem upon his chest, not broken, whole, for the first time in 1,000 lifetimes. He spoke not as one seeking end, but as one who would guard beginnings. And so the wanderer was no more. The Arbiter walked, and the universe watched